What is up, fellas? We got a Dynasty startup mock draft, but this time we're going to be doing a single quarterback. A lot of you guys in the comment section have been hounding us. Can you guys do a single quarterback draft? I don't play in superflex. I don't play in superflex. Please do a single quarterback draft. We don't personally play in a lot of one quarterback ourselves, but we do want to appease the people here. So we are going to do a single quarterback startup mock draft. Again, it is a single quarterback. So when we get into the actual draft, if I see Josh Allen go first overall, I'm literally going to restart the draft. And again, I'm dropping the link in the chat right now. Please, if you can, if you don't play in single quarterback leagues or, whatever, just hold off on joining the link until some single quarterback folks join it. Because I do want to make sure that the single quarterback audience is appeased here and they can get some good practice in, get a good idea for how we value players. And we'll talk about the differences and stuff. Of course, we're going to be answering comments as we go through this video as well. So if you have any Superflex questions, we'll answer them. But we do want to appease the single quarterback pros. So again, if you don't play in single quarterback leagues, just hold off on joining the draft if you can. We do a ton of these Superflex ones, so you don't really have anything to complain about, to be honest, because we do Superflex ones all the time. For
sure. And I mean, you guys are watching this live stream officially on the 4th birthday of the Fantasy Stock Exchange YouTube channel. We put a post out on Twitter. Appreciate you guys for making this happen. Just south of 40,000 subscribers in 4 years. I mean, you guys have shown that consistent support. And it just means a lot to us knowing where we started, coming on to university, Rinky Dink little YouTube channel. You guys have put in the work to help us get to where we are today. So we're appreciative.
Yes, but we are still delaying live streams by about 15 minutes because we were talking about peek behind the curtain. We are building a wide receiver prospect model, and we were talking through some stuff behind the scenes, which is why we were delayed on this live stream. And we're hoping to have that wide receiver one, potentially the running back one, done as well by the time rookie drafts come along, so that you guys love the wide receivers to target and avoid, running backs to target and avoid videos. We're trying to supersize those to the point that it is like so much better than what those videos are, even though a lot of you guys seem to get a lot of value from those. We want to have a legit prospect model going back to like 2015 to tell you really how good is this wide receiver class and so on and so forth. So let's start the draft. Let's mix up the draft order as usual. Knowing me, I will be picking at the 111 or something like that, but let's see exactly what ends up happening. 109, which is basically
I got 108
that I'm usually picking. Again, anybody who's in this draft, it is a single quarterback dynasty startup mock draft. So
don't
again,
take Patrick Mahomes
a quarterback
#1
super early, because this is a single quarterback draft. The draft rules, as you can see them, single quarterback dynasty startup PPR league. I'm going to hit start on the draft. You got 60 seconds on the clock. Don't get fired. Here we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we did have some folks in the chat here, YouTube, hitting us with a one quarterback. Yeah, I mean, we get super flex drafts all the time. LOL, same, but it will be interesting to hop in. I actually, let us know in the comments. Are you guys in different league formats where like you're in some super flex, some one quarterback? Like I'm personally an all super flex guy, and I know a lot of people who are in one quarterback leagues are sometimes all one quarterback guys. I'm curious if any of you guys are in, some of both.
For sure. By the way, I have to make reference in case anybody doesn't know, on Sleeper, if you want to draft a rookie, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, click the rookies only tab. Otherwise, they will be sorted completely down. You see Marvin Harrison listed at 771. So if you want to draft Marv, you want to draft Neighbors, they should be going within these next couple of picks. Make sure you sort by that, because we don't want to have the mock where they're falling to like the 202 because people forgot they were there.
Yeah, good call out. I actually did forget about that. So Danny on top of things here. So we got Chris says, I'm torn between Odunze and Bowers at the 103. So I'm assuming this is a one quarterback question as well. Non-tight end premium, 10 teams start 8. I have the 101, 103, 105, 108, 110, 201. Best tight end is likely. So because you also have the 105, I would be interested to see does the 104 need a tight end? Because if they don't, I think it's very possible that they're going to take, say, Brian Thomas Jr. or whoever at 104, and you might be able to get both Odunze and Bowers with 103 and 105. And if they do need a tight end, you could always inquire with them and see how much it costs you to get up from 105 to 104, because you are in a situation where you do need a tight end. But for me personally, I'm still wanting to take Odunze over Bowers. So if you can get both by either moving up from 105 to 104 and or just sitting pat at 105 and assuming Bowers is going to be there because the guy already has Laporta or something like that, I think in most casual dynasty leagues in one quarterback formats, Bowers will slide if the team drafting him does not need a tight end.
I agree. The other thing, by the way, just quickly took Garrett Wilson, best player available on the board. And yeah, 108, I'd be cool with that in a one quarterback league. You are now on the clock. Don't get fired. And then we'll go through Corey's super chat in a second.
Yeah, I mean, I actually want to experiment with grabbing a running back early here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take another jet myself. I'm going to go with Breece Hall, and him and Gibbs, kind of a toss up between RB2 for me in Dynasty. Either one is pretty viable at the back end of the first round of a one quarterback startup here. Like you said, Corey's super chat here. He says, "What's up, fellas? Thought it would be a rookie draft. No, we did not. We can do some live stream rookie drafts this week, maybe, but we are doing a startup here.
Depending how long a one quarterback league, like it's 12 rounds. Okay. If it was like 9 or 10, maybe we could have mixed in a 1QB rookie draft after this, but we'll see how long it takes. If it's still, we're done by like the 45, 50-minute mark, like I don't mind doing one or two.
Yeah, maybe we'll highlight what the rookie draft ended up being in ADP after the draft is over, because obviously rookies are going to go in this draft too. So, Pack It Up says, I would take Bowers just because you need a stud with that shallow of a format. Yeah, I agree. I think he has stud upside. I love Odunze to the point that I think he also has like first round startup pick and a one quarterback appeal. And even though Bowers could ascend to the top of his position, I mean, is Bowers at tight end 1 in Dynasty going to be a first round startup pick? I think Odunze has the possibility as a top 6 to 8 Dynasty wide receiver, if he hits at the next level, to become a first round startup pick. And even though Bowers would be at the top of his position, he might not be as highly thought of in terms of overall startup value as opposed to Odunze. And we have Stiggs here,
he said,
and absolutely auto picked here.
It says it took me out. Here,
refresh your page.
Yeah, refresh your page, see if it works. You still got Malik Neighbors, who probably would have been the pick there regardless. So, I mean, it worked out for you. But, I'm assuming you probably made that pick since he was probably listed at like 7.
He was probably in his queue or something, I would imagine. So,
top of his queue.
Tacaden says, I have the same choice to make it a 12-team start 10. I think we both could be great as soon as this year with the right landing spot. So this is a Odunze versus Bowers. Non-tight end premium, the top guys weren't as big of an advantage. Yeah, I mean, I think the tight end position is deep enough in general that Odunze should go over Bowers just across the board, unless you're in like a really heavy tight end premium where it's like you get half points for first downs or 2 points for tight end premium receptions or something like that. To me, I think 90% of the time I'm going to roll with Bowers or Odunze, over Bowers. And if you do want Bowers, like let's say you're at 103 and a one quarterback, 106 and a super flex, trade down. You're probably going to get Bowers there. You know what I mean? Like just, feel out the board. Does anybody behind you need a tight end? If they don't, you might be able to risk it to 108, 109, even potentially in a super flex, 105, 106, potentially in a one quarterback and still get Bowers there. But of course, don't be stupid. Don't go down too far to the point that you won't get him. But I do think Bowers could slide a little bit, but it all depends where he goes. Because if let's say the Chargers trade out of 5 with the Vikings and trade down to 11 because the Vikings come up and get a quarterback, and the Bowers goes to the Chargers at pick 11 in the draft, he might end up being a solidified 106, 107 in Superflex, 103 in one quarterback league. So I'm back on the clock here.
Okay.
I kind of like the idea of going competitive at this point in time. I'm curious how this is going to work.
By the way, super chat here, traded the 102 for T-Law and Tank Dell, desperately needed a 2-for-1 fair deal. If this is a super flex deal, I'm comfortable with making this trade. If this is a one quarterback league, I think you got absolutely hosed. So leave that context down below. Is this a super flex league? Because if so, like 102, Marvin Harrison is a 1-2 turn pick, T-Law more of a mid-second. So I feel like if you got Tank Dell, that's a solid move, being able to get that 2-for-1, needing the depth. But like I said, if this is a one quarterback league, I would have needed much more to trade the 102. So comment down below if it was one quarterback or super flex.
Yeah, that's definitely that's a fair point. I'm curious to know what you would do in this spot. I kind of like the idea of just grabbing Tyreek, to be honest, if I'm going competitive.
I pick one pick after you, so I'll tell you in a second.
I'm going to go Olave. I go one more balanced pick, and then next pick I'll be able to go with a competitive one. Those were the two guys at wide receiver that I was caught between. Definitely could have gone with Jonathan Taylor at running back or Patrick Mahomes at quarterback or even Sam Laporta at tight end there to get that advantage. I think I like the idea of being a little bit more balanced through 2 rounds and then kind of seeing how the board shakes out. Because it looks like, a lot of you guys are drafting as we kind of expect, which is like, you're going pretty heavy on the young players.
For sure. Olave was my next rated player. Right after him is the guy I will be taking. And you mentioned the name Sam Laporta, one quarterback league, get that tight end advantage. He's a guy that usually goes in the 2-3 turn area of a tight end premium superflex league. So mid-second, I feel comfortable pulling the trigger on him here.
Yeah, for sure. Corey B. Corey with no E, but same initials as me. Love to see that.
Yes,
What
sir.
happens if someone leaves the league after 1 year since it's a dynasty league? So the way that
Collect the
we
head.
handle it personally, we've had a couple people leave our leagues that were in this offseason. I mean, it's easy for us because we're obviously content creators. We farm it out to you guys and you're happy to join. But if you're in a Reddit league or a fantasy Twitter league or whatever, or people you met in our Discord, and somebody leaves, it's up to the commissioner to fill that spot. They need to
Yes.
farm it out to people they know, people they, if they're in our Discord, they can farm it out. Hey, we got an orphan here. This is what the team looks like. Ideally, your commissioner set themselves up in an advantageous position where the person that left the league after 1 year at least paid in half, if not all the way in for the second season, so that when you're giving away that orphan, it's probably not in good shape. Otherwise, they wouldn't have left the league. And they can at least save some money if they're going to take over said orphan. So that's the way that we handle it. If you have any specific questions too, and you want to DM us on Twitter, we can give you some advice. But generally speaking, it's up to the commissioner to farm out the orphan. And ideally, you have your commissioner set up in a way that they're not giving away a shitty roster without at least maybe a free year for the person who's taking over it, or half a free year or something like that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there should be protections in place if you're going to be able to do that. Like Corey said, collecting at least 1.5.
I like 2 years in, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, for what it's worth, especially if it's people you don't know. Like, if it's your college buddies or whatever, it's not as big of a deal. But if it's people you don't know, you met them in our Discord, you met them on fantasy Twitter, you met them on Reddit or something, especially, it should be 2 years in, I think, personally. Because then you don't have any worries. People are usually not likely to leave the league at that point. And also, in addition to being 2 years in, at the end of the first year in the rookie draft, they should have to pay in for the following year if they're trading away any 2025 capital or whatever as well, because that prevents people from just like trading all their 2025 picks, leaving the league, and then leaving the orphan with nothing, basically.
100%. And I've seen that in some leagues. People have bad habits to be able to do it. Just make sure. Like, I understand if there's certain reasons, like, oh, like I have too much time commitment, or, oh, like now, like this league opened up with my buddies. Like I would rather be in that. Like, I understand why people would leave a league, but don't be a douchebag. Don't trade all your picks. Don't leave the roster completely barren, and don't just leave without any at least financial payment towards the next owner. Like, you should be able to be civil when it comes to leaving a league, pretty much. Like, it shouldn't be a point where like everybody in the league despises
super chat just says this guy left the league. Like, I've had that happen.
I've had that happen too
in leagues that I've been in, where he doesn't say anything to the commissioner, doesn't say anything to anybody else, just leaves the league. And you're like, well, we didn't collect his buy-ins for the future. And in my opinion, if that's the case that you find yourself in, it's up to the commissioner to give away the orphan. And if they can't do that, they're probably going to be in a position where they're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to have to front this person's money for the first year so that I can get somebody to take this orphan over if it's in that bad of shape. I've actually had to do that. I don't know about you, where, there was a league where the commissioner didn't do their due diligence and take 2 years in advance, or half a year at least in advance. And you have to take money out of your own pocket and say, I'm going to pay the first year so that you take over this orphan because it's in such bad shape. I can't reasonably tell you, take over this orphan and pay in for a year.
No, for sure. I agree with that. I'm about to be on the clock after Perk goes.
And appreciate that to Caden. Caden, definitely one of our day ones. I think he's been around since 2020.
Yeah, Caden's been here for a while for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of, I believe the league that I was just referring to, I think Caden is in it. So IDUP says, what's the difference between Chase and Puka value-wise in Superflex? In Superflex Dynasty, it's probably a bigger difference than it would be in one quarterback. I mean, you see in a one quarterback league, it's like 101 to 103 versus like 106. But in a Superflex Dynasty, I think there's a bit more of a tier break there. For me, Chase versus Puka value-wise, the difference would be, like, would you accept this deal if you were either the Chase or the Puka manager, where you get, say, Puka Nacua and a late 2025 first for Jamar Chase and the 206 this year? Like, what side of that deal do you want?
Just give me a second. I'm on the clock here. I think I'm just going to take Lamar Jackson. I don't really know where else to go because it's a pretty flat board. Not ideal having two onesies, but I mean, we move. Sorry, what was the comment?
So the comment was, what's the value difference between Chase and Puka in Superflex Dynasty? And I proposed an offer hypothetically that's Puka and a late 25 first for Chase and the 206 this year. Which side do you want?
Chase easily.
Okay, so to you, the difference is probably Puka
at least the first,
late first for first Chase straight.
Yeah, minimum, maybe even a 1 or 2. I just view the top three as being so value insulated at this current point with Chase, with Lamb, with Jefferson, that as much as I love Puka Nacua, like you're talking about the difference between the 108 in a startup versus probably like the 206, 207 in most leagues. And I would need at least a first, probably a 1 and a 2 if I'm the Chase side. But I mean, if I understand going with the Puka side there, absolutely, because there could be the case where if he does exactly what he did this year, he could be vaulted up to where Amon St. Brown is, possibly even close to Chase. I just feel like given the risk mitigation of what Chase represents attached to Burrow superstar level he's already shown, I don't want to get off of him the safety that he brings for more risk unless I'm getting appropriate value, which I view as at least a 1.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. By the way, I didn't mention it, but it is a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex, 2 running back, 1 tight end, 1 quarterback. Pretty bog standard. But I guess some people do play in 1 quarterback leagues where it's like it's 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, where it's like an extremely, extremely shallow starting lineup. I personally don't like playing in dynasty leagues like that. But again, if you guys do, the answer to how you would adjust your strategy is like all that matters is your starting lineup. All that matters is your studs. You don't need depth in a 1 quarterback league where you start 8 players or start 7 players on any given week.
For sure. 102, 103, 107 rookie, 1 quarterback, half PPR. Since I have Pitts, Ferguson, Komet, and wide receiver is my biggest need, do I do Neighbors, Odunze with the 2 and the 3, Skip Bowers? Yeah, I mean, I have it ranked that way anyway. So if you have Pitts, Ferguson, Komet, just take the 2 receivers. That's a pretty nice decision there. Sean does say that in terms of his super chat, it is a 12-team super flex. So with that added context, I really do like the deal. If you needed extra parts, like I said, Marvin Harrison Jr., more of a 1-2 turn pick. T-Law mostly going off the board in the mid-second of leagues. I feel like Tank Dell is probably appropriate compensation, especially if you need a quarterback to be able to get that deal done. I mean, at the end of the day, man, like quarterback equity to acquire it is hard. So if you're able to do that, plus get an upside shot at wide receiver, Tank Dell, who's pretty much valued consensusly across the board, at least as a top 24, mostly as a top 20 wide receiver, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the type of deal where it hinges on Lawrence, obviously. If Lawrence doesn't work out, that deal, you're going to lose it pretty hard. But Lawrence also could be very much more valuable than Marvin this time next year. Like if Lawrence comes out and plays like an MVP candidate, he's probably going to be a top 5 starter pick this time next year. So he'll probably be on his own more valuable than Marvin Harrison Jr., let alone the fact that you got Tank Dell involved in that as well. So IDUP said, do we think we finally get a Garrett Wilson blow up this year? I personally do. I think that him and Rodgers playing, even if Rodgers isn't quite the same Rodgers that we saw with the Packers, it's so much bigger of a significant upgrade at quarterback than what Garrett Wilson has dealt with. Even if they add Brock Bowers in the draft or something like that, Garrett Wilson is on pace to have like 150 plus targets this year. And if he has that from a competent quarterback, we're looking at a guy with legit top 5, top 3 redraft upside here. And if he does that, he's going to have a CeeDee Lamb level ascension probably to inside that top tier with Jefferson, with Chase, and with Lamb, because he's also like 2 years younger than all those guys.
For sure. The easiest case I kind of like compare it to as well is the ascension that Stephon Diggs saw going from Minnesota to Buffalo. Obviously, he was always a good player in Minnesota, but his ceiling was always capped. Goes to Buffalo, and we see him finally have that, top 3, top 2 level upside. I view Garrett Wilson in that similar type of mindset.
Yeah, I got an interesting decision here on the board for me because I actually really like the value even at running back, to be honest, for a competitive team like mine. I think Trey McBride is a pretty screaming big value at this point in time, given where you took Laporta versus McBride going off the board this much later. Also, too, I think Burrow and Herbert are quite a decent value at the quarterback position as well. Quarterback feels pretty nice right now. I think I might be able to get. Actually, you know what? No, I'm Joe Burrow stan 101, man. Like I think Burrow should be at least in the same tier as Stroud, Jackson, and I think he's closer to Mahomes and Hurts and stuff than people think, to be honest. So I'm a big Burrow guy. I always have been.
Yeah, we're kind of on the opposite side there. I have him closer to like Caleb Williams. It's just the age. It's just the overall fantasy upside, not comparing to a guy like Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, that I kind of have to downgrade him a bit. But at the same time, I mean, obviously real life quarterback play is a factor, and he's always going to have a very liquid market given what he represents from a real life standpoint. So I don't mind that from a value area. I end up going Brian Thomas here. Again, like I said, if I knew that you guys were just going to be completely fading Trey McBride and Brock Bowers to the oblivion, I wouldn't have taken Laporta at 2.5, but you live, you learn. End up going with Brian Thomas. He stuck out like a sore thumb at the wide receiver position, so comfortable taking him here at the 4 or 5. I think he's going to be, an early to mid 5th round pick in super flex leagues after the NFL draft. So, at the 4 or 5 and a 1 quarterback, I think that's really, really, really nice value.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing here. Actually, this is probably a better idea so that the comments don't cover our faces here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. There we go. Ryan says, I'm in a league with a Patriots fan. He has the 104 after me. If May goes to the Patriots, will it be more of a risk since I have lost pieces to their offensive line and poor receiving core? So Ryan, I believe, is the one that has the 103 and the 105, or am I making this up?
I believe.
Okay, anyways, he has the 104 after me. If May goes to the Patriots, will it be more of a risk?
I'm just taking May anyways. He's a better player than Jaden Daniels, in my opinion.
Yeah, if market value dictates that they're nowhere close to each other and you want to trade down and secure them, by all means, work the board. If you're just asking straight up, like if May goes to the Patriots, are we still going to be in on him? The answer is yes. Like I'm still going to be in on him. I'm going to be taking a ton of discounted Drake May in that case, to be honest, because I'm sure if May goes 3 to the Patriots, the fantasy
he might be the 106,
knock him all the way down to 105, 106. Like I wouldn't be shocked at all, especially if we get really good landing spot for Malik Neighbors. If he goes 5 to the Chargers, Odunze goes 9 to the Bears or 6 to the Giants or something,
7 to the Titans,
goes 11 to the Jets. Like I would not be shocked if people are stupid enough to take Drake May 107.
By the way, I do have to address this. I saw people like, the Titans are doing so much to build around Will Levis of all people, or somebody's like, are they going to take a quarterback in 2025? Did we watch the same Will Levis last year? Like I'm more than comfortable giving my young quarterback a chance when he showed that much upside in year 1 with the surrounding cast that the Titans have. Why is it a bad thing that we bring in an offensive coach, we add a number 1 wide receiver, potentially
going to draft a left tackle,
gonna draft the tackle, trade for an all-star caliber top 5 level corner? Like this is how you should be building around your quarterback. When your quarterback is making that rookie wage scale, you need to support him with surrounding talent, because guess what? If you don't support Will Levis, you'll never truly know whether he has it or not. By giving him this team around him, you'll know right off the bat. If he plays bad next year, maybe he's not the guy, but you want to give him the best chance to succeed. And what they're doing is giving him the best chance to succeed. And to be honest, man, like, given what I saw from Will Levis, I would be taking some shots on the Titans to win the division on the plus odds they're going to get.
I think that if you guys are looking for big time, I have an orphan, I have a terrible team, and I need value accumulators. Like Will Levis is the guy that you want to take a shot on in a startup or in a trade or whatever, because he has the ability to go from a 6th, 7th round startup pick like he is now in Superflex leagues to a 2nd rounder. Because if he hits, and again, for the Titans, it's like, why would you not do what you're doing right now? Because worst case scenario, Will Levis bottoms out. He's horrible. And you have a top 5 pick this year. Exactly what happened in Washington, basically, with Sam Howell. It's like, why not give the kid a chance? If Sam Howell hits, we have a very young, very inexpensive franchise quarterback. And if Sam Howell misses, then we have a top 3 pick. And that's exactly what happened.
Exactly. No, like that is the way to do it. You want to support your young quarterback, see what they got. And once you know, okay, we have the team around him, but he's not showing signs, you're going to have closure on that. If you have a bad team around a young quarterback and they struggle, you still don't know what you got, because the team around him is so bad to the point you can't really take much information out of it.
Yeah, exactly. There's no point of trying to build nothing around the quarterback because you don't know if he's the guy. Because then again, also too, if Ridley and Hopkins and all these guys stick around another year after Levis is gone, then they're going to help the next quarterback.
Exactly.
And you'll also, again, because you're not investing a lot in your quarterback position, by resetting the clock, if you decide to do that, you're still going to have a lot of cap space next offseason to build around your new 2025 quarterback. So again, look at every quarterback that's hit who is not a sure thing coming into the NFL. Allen, Hurts, Murray, all these guys. They were not sure things coming into the NFL. Their franchise is built around them. They got them weapons. They got them receiving talent. Tua Tagovailoa as well, who was actually considered a better prospect than a lot of these guys. He didn't take a step until he got Tyreek Hill. It's like, why would you not go out and add these pieces? I actually think the Jags are one of the dumbest franchises I've ever heard for not sending 17 for Ayuk when it was on the table, because everybody's getting fired if Lawrence doesn't become a superstar. So why would you not go get Ayuk?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's pretty baffling that they didn't do that deal. Obviously, people are going to say, well, the financial factor, you have to pay Ayuk.
It's good to pay good players. Rookie contract.
You know what? I have no problem paying
Well,
good
maybe
players,
don't
man.
pay Gabe Davis then.
Like we just went through this a couple years ago where people were like, well, actually, the Titans are sharp for trading away AJ Brown because they could just get Treylon Burks, who will become the next AJ Brown. It's like, yeah, we think so well of these prospects, and obviously we want to believe them to hit that upper percentile.
And
but
it worked for the Vikings when they traded Diggs and got Jefferson.
like,
But
when you're dealing with
it's not a
superstar level
slam dunk.
players,
It's a risk.
when you're dealing with superstar level players, which if you guys want to argue that in the comments that Brandon Ayuk, whether he is a superstar level player or not, like Brandon Ayuk to me is a fringe top 5 NFL wide receiver, or at the very least in that 6 to 8 range. I view that as being a superstar caliber player. 1,300 plus yards on low passing volume like the Niners have is absolutely insane. You plug that next to Trevor Lawrence, you give him that chance as that true number one that really didn't end up becoming for you. You need to give him a chance to succeed. And especially given what he's shown at this point, you have to make a decision on the financial commitment. Are you going to give him that 50 plus, $55+ million contract? At this point, given what he's shown, I don't know if you're at that stage, man. You have to see that level of progression in this year. So giving him the best chance to be able to hit that level would have been in your best interest. Now, with that being said, my next rated player here is going to be Ladd McConkey, 6'5". Feel comfortable with his draft capital. And I think in this type of format, he's going to be a plug and play starter for me. So
Yeah, I almost went with Worthy with my pick. Evans fits my build a little bit more, but Worthy I technically do have graded higher than Evans. It's just kind of all with how the board goes. Speaking of, Mel Kiper actually has them becoming teammates in his most recent mock draft, and I would personally love that as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan who's also a Texas Longhorns fan. Watched Worthy's entire career. That would be a lot of fun. And I don't rule that out because I think that Worthy is going to go higher than people think in the actual draft. And if he does slide to 26 overall, I wouldn't be shocked if Jason Light and the staff viewed that as a best player available situation for Xavier Worthy because you can't teach speed, man. And the Bucs, as good as their veteran wide receivers are, they are actually missing some speed on their offense. Like Rashad White's a good athlete.
It's Trey Palmer, right?
Trey Palmer is a 4-3 guy, but he's a little inconsistent. Having Worthy be their number 3 receiver in the short term, potential long term number 1 would be super, super awesome. I think that would be a lot of fun. If all the edge rushers and offensive linemen, interior wise and corners are off the board, I would be quite excited if Worthy was the pick at 26.
Sup, Henry? Nice having you in here. OG of the channel. One quarterback PPR traded Olave and Kyler for Pittman, Hurts in the 109. Thoughts? So for equating this out, I mean, let's just look at the draft we're in right here. So you see Kyler.
I like Pittman, Hurts in the 109 here. I think Hurts and Kyler is a pretty big difference in a one quarterback league, and Olave and Pittman is a smaller difference to me than Hurts and Kyler. And yeah, I mean, 109 is also going to be a pretty solid Xavier Worthy, somebody like that. Maybe it's like worst case scenario, RB1 in the class or one of the quarterbacks if you need another quarterback, or, Troy Franklin or Xavier Legette, Adonai Mitchell, something like that.
The way I kind of slice this is Hurts versus Olave is relatively close. So let's just say they even out, even though maybe you slightly prefer Olave. They're about equivalent value, I would say. Then I would much rather have Pittman in the 109, at least more than I would rather have Olave over Hurts. So I do agree. I like that side of the deal as well. We're back with Josh Allen. I don't think that's a bad pick. He's ranked about the 204, 205 range. So take him at the 202 if you like Josh Allen. Like, obviously, you got auto-drafted in this instance, but, I mean, he's going to go higher in a lot of people's leagues. They see the name Josh Allen, they're going to want to get him. So I don't think that's a bad pick.
Yeah. Nico over Dell. I personally prefer Nico as well, just given the size advantage that you got there.
I have Nico at 17 and Tank Dell at 21, so I would also slightly prefer Nico. Chaotic says, do you guys have any startups coming? We do have some startups planned, startup in particular planned upcoming.
I mean, me and you have gone back and forth. Do we want to do this before the draft or do we want to just wait until after the draft? I wouldn't mind getting it going like soon. If we are going to do it before the draft, we kind of need to do it ASAP, because if we kick it off, say April 1st or something, then it needs time, probably 2 or 3 weeks to finish before the draft happens.
Perfect solution. One before, one after. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, we could do that as well, but yeah, I mean, we are going to have some startups coming. Me and Danny had to sit down and just determine, do we want to do it before the draft or do we want to just wait until after the draft to do it? I wouldn't mind doing it before the draft because I like having rookie picks in the startup as well.
Oh yeah.
We could also just do it roulette wise and do the rookies in the startup straight rather than the picks, which would be fun. But
that's also interesting.
Anyways, we're going to have a startup coming up very soon, and it will be for Flock Fantasy subscribers, and annual guys are going to get 2 entries to 1 entry for the the monthly members and stuff. So it's going to be coming. The question is it before the draft or is it after the draft? But at the very latest, it'll be after the draft. What do you think Isaiah Pacheco is worth? I actually inherited a league with only a 2024's 209 this
Early
year,
two?
and Hurts / Geno Smith. It's a Dynasty Superflex. If I was selling Pacheco, I would
Early two.
ideally like to get a 2025 one for him because we're deep in the rookie season right now. People might not want to give up a first rounder for Isaiah Pacheco at this point in time. I think you should be able to get a 2025 one for him, at least in most leagues.
If you can get a 2025 one, I'm obviously liquidating every single time because the way I look at it is next year's draft class is going to be absolutely stacked at running back, and you can easily supplement Pacheco with a younger guy next year. On top of that, if you were to equate him to 2024 picks, I would say about the 203, the 204 right after Benson Brooks go off the board because I would rather have both those guys to Pacheco. So the only thing is I don't feel like people have grasped just how good the class is, that you might even be able to get more than that, man, to be honest. Like people will see, oh, like 203, 204, that's cheap for Pacheco based off the numerical the numerical number of the 203, 204. I would want the 112, people might say. But when you actually contextualize this draft class, man, like Benson and Brooks are probably going to be the 201, 202 in most leagues.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that at all. I'm on the board here and I don't really know what direction I want to go in because I actually think I'm going to deviate for a young wide receiver here. I'm going to go with Franklin for the time being here. I was going to go either Leggett or Franklin, but I'll grab Franklin there at the 7-9. I got a bunch of aging-ish wide receivers here, so I figured grabbing a young buck there is not bad.
Man, I really like how my team's coming out, getting the value. I don't know how Brooks made it to the 7-8. Like, we take those.
Yeah, I don't think that was a bad pick whatsoever. Jared says trade a DJ Moore in 105 for Jamar Chase in a one quarterback dynasty. Yeah, I mean, I'll take Chase there. I think that's a pretty decent offer, though.
I would need probably DJ Moore plus the 102, 103 to move off of Chase in a one quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think that's a horrible offer. I mean, 105 is obviously like viewed as a tier break for us, so that's why it's definitely a great move there. Still has the 1-1, 1-3, and 1-8 plus he won this past season. Yeah, I mean, if you're in a position where you got assets out the wazoo, then I would have definitely been willing to pay more for Chase, and you got it done with just that.
I don't know how that guy didn't counter back with the 1-3 plus more for Chase, but I mean, the fact that you got it for the 1-5 is an A+ move.
Yeah, exactly. Just went back to work, so got to get caught up, and then we'll get a coaching session. Yes, Jared is. Me and Jared are trying to get a coaching thing going on right now. Legends, what's going on? What is Ferguson's value in a 12-team Superflex start 10 half tight end premium? I would say somewhere between like 203 and 207 in terms of the rookie pick this year.
Yeah, I was going to say probably closer to it. Like, obviously, I'm the Ferguson guy. I would probably say, given this draft class, like Xavier Leggett, maybe the 206, and I'd rather have like Xavier Leggett to Ferguson. So probably in like the 208 to 210 range is about fair.
Yeah, and a half tight end premium, I think his production value might be worth a mid-second, but yeah, I think that's probably give or take what he's worth.
For sure.
If you're talking a 2025 second, I would probably want a projected early one if I was moving off of Ferguson because the class might not be as deep. But regardless, I think about early to mid second is the best case scenario if you're selling Ferguson. Jared says still in mourning, had Jones / Jacobs combo for 1 hour and 17 minutes.
I don't think you guys were ever going to keep Jones when you signed Jacobs. I think you signed Jacobs because you guys had the inside knowledge that Jones wanted to leave.
Yeah, true. Addison 4-1. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, in one quarterback draft, I think that's fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sold Cup and Warren in a one quarterback for 109, 209, and in a Superflex Cup straight up for the 205, selling too low. I
like it. I like it enough, but it is probably like a smidge lower than you might have been able to get in some leagues.
Yeah, I mean, I agree in terms of the context of in some leagues when people don't realize the numeric value of the pick versus the classic.
If you're in a sharp league, though, I actually don't think this was bad at all.
And that's what I was going to say. In a sharper league, man, like that's about the value you have to pay. The 205 is what, the 17th overall pick? I have Jalen Wright ranked as my 17th overall pick. If he gets day 2 capital, he's about in that range of a startup with Cooper Kupp, I would say. Like a fridge,
and same with like Leggett, Mitchell, Franklin, guys like that. Like if they're getting good draft capital, which we expect them to, like they're going to be on par in terms of value as Kupp. It doesn't really make sense because you're comparing a very competitive asset to a young asset, but that's kind of how you have to look at things. And both of the top tight ends that I wanted to fall back to me got fucking sniped, so that's fun. I guess I'm going with a cheap tight end strategy here. I do like the prospect. I do already have DJ Moore, so Keenan Allen would be kind of interesting, but I'm not going to go in that direction. You know what I'm actually going to do?
Huh.
I only have one running back at the moment, and I actually think that David Montgomery's kind of a tier break. Oh, Javonte Williams is on the board. Holy shit. Never mind. I'll take Javonte Williams there. Not that he's much better than David Montgomery, but he is a slight tier ahead of him for me. So
I'm just running rookie FC right now with McConkey, Leggett, and Brian Thomas, three of my favorite players in this class. I mean, and Jonathan Brooks too. So building the young shell in a 1 quarterback league, I really like the structure I got on this team right now.
Yeah, for sure. You trying to get the 102 in a super flex to get Marvin. Guy wants Kyler in the 107. That is really rich. That is a lot. I think that I would not pay that in a super flex league.
For Marv?
No,
I love Marv.
I think I'd be willing to pay Kyler.
I agree.
Plus what? How much on top of Kyler? Like an early second?
I was gonna say, like, maybe if you're like a little bit lower on Kyler than us and you're higher on Marv, like the 110, like. But even that, like, dude, like Kyler goes 5-6 picks after Marv in most fucking superflex startups.
Well, he asks specifically how far apart we have them in our startup ranks. So I can tell you for sure here in a second. Let me look.
Superflex, I have Marvin Harrison Jr. ranked as my 11th overall player. I have Kyler Murray ranked as my 18th overall player. So seven spots.
Yeah. And for me, I have Marvin ranked as my 13th overall player, and I have Kyler as my 18th overall player. So 5 spots. So yeah, they're pretty comparable in terms of value. Yeah. So it should be, I think at minimum, you're paying the stud factor. I would like to get it for an early second. Worst case scenario, like 111 or 112.
For sure. Yeah, I have the 103 and the 105. Makes sense. What mid to late round startup picks do you think have the highest chance to take a significant leap this year? I mean, if we're looking at the
Levis is the one that I mentioned that's in super flex leagues that has a very good chance of taking a big leap, I think.
Let's go by position. So Levis, I agree, at quarterback is obviously a big time potential mover. I would say, given the board right now, depending on where he goes in this class, if JJ McCarthy has a really good rookie season, he has the upside to be a top 7 or 8 dynasty quarterback.
Bryce also worth mentioning in this conversation as well. I think
running backs. I think
that sneakily, even though I think it's a low chance, I still think Watson has the ability to climb up the board because he can run. Even though I'm not as high on Watson, obviously, as I was last offseason. In terms of like other quarterbacks, again, this is like a deep cut, really late round startup pick. I do think it is possible that Sam Howell and Justin Fields end up very valuable by the end of the season, depending on how Geno and Russell Wilson play.
I would agree with that. Running back,
it's not likely, but it's possible.
Running back, it's just going to be a rookie. Like otherwise,
whoever ends up, and same with, to be honest, wide receivers probably the same thing. Like Leggett, Franklin, Worthy, McConkey, Coleman, all the guys that we've been talking about as rookie draft guys. That's who climbs the value in terms of the wide receiver position. Whoever has, like, think about the guys that climbed this year. It was Rashee Rice, Tank Dell, all those type of dudes. Jaden Reed.
I mean, well, that's what I was gonna say. The other tier is maybe like the unproven young guys. Like obviously JSN still got a lot of appeal. If he were to hit a good second season, he's already in the good graces of the market, so I can see him rising pretty much.
I like Wicks here too, potentially to have a climb in value.
Is he Jaden Reed?
I know we're not very much like on the plan, like the face planners train, but is it possible that a Jonathan Mingo rises up rankings? Is it possible that a Marvin Mims rises up rankings? Even like Jamison Williams or Treylon Burks rises up rankings potentially? It's possible. I don't think it's likely, but it's possible.
By the way, sorry to do that to you.
Rankings.
Sorry to do that to you.
Oh, that's pain. What direction do I want to go here? I think I might go back to the running back well, to be honest. Of course, Montgomery went shortly after my pick. Charbonnet's kind of interesting here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me look at the rookie running backs. Do I have any guys that I stand out to me?
I'm already waiting for somebody to watch this back and be like, oh, my God, Dan. Yeah, God damn it. I didn't see
He's always buried. You gotta find Jalen Wright's name.
I was going to take him to pair with Brooks, but then I looked at the rookie running backs and thought they would all be able to fall back. Fuck, man. I didn't realize. Good pick.
Tough scene.
What I was going to say is somebody's going to watch back my team and be like, this guy took 4 rookies in a row, this and that. It's like, you got rookie fever. It's like, no, like I've done my scouting reports on all these guys. They're all extremely talented. Like 2024's draft class, man, like if it doesn't become like 2020, I'd be shocked because that's the number of talented players I can see rising up the fantasy grades. And obviously in that 2020 class, like we're talking about T. Higgins being the 205 in some drafts, Michael Pittman being the 207 in some drafts. Like you go back and you look at
AJ Dillon and
drafts.
Antonio Gibson were 3rd-round picks in that class. Like those were guys that gave you legitimate production, that gave you legitimate value accumulation. Like that's what the goal of a deep class is. It's like, were Antonio Gibson and AJ Dillon home runs? No, but Antonio Gibson was a guy at one point who was valued as a top 15 dynasty running back who you could have cashed out on if you wanted to.
For sure. No, I agree.
Okay, I'm back on the clock here. Could go in the direction of another running back. Could go with a tight end. I guess I don't have one yet. I think I'm going to go through my go-to competitive tight end, Evan Ingram. He's just a rock solid competitive option.
Yeah, and
why? Like to me, it's like, why would I take Trey? Like as much as Trey McBride is a great option, let's say actually even like compare him directly to a competitive option like Mark Andrews in round 4. It's like, is Mark Andrews going to be higher in my redraft rankings than Evan Ingram? Definitely. But can Evan Ingram outscore Mark Andrews in redraft this year? Yeah, he can, and they're like the same age.
And I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be disgusting. Alex mentioned this name early, like in the chat, and I do think it's a little late for Najee, and I hate Najee Harris, but the 10-5 and a 1 quarterback is pretty insane. So
yeah, that's some pretty ridiculous hate that we're throwing on.
You guys made me take Najee Harris, being the Najee Harris hater. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, 1QB like never gets the love that they want here. Would you trade the 202 for Singletary and the 302 in a 10-man 1 quarterback league? I want the 202 in that situation there. Yeah, Singletary's fodder. Easily. Like, I mean, maybe he has some starting appeal because he's going to like play for the Giants or whatever, but like, just give me the upside swing at 202 that I could, like you might get the best or second best running back in the class at 202 in a 1 quarterback league in a 10-man. Yeah. Like we're talking the 202 in a 10-man league is a first round pick in a 12-man league. So
well, I mean, take out the quarterbacks alone, like because like obviously.
But here's the thing, though: the quarterbacks might 3 of them might be off the board by 202.
No, I agree, but I'm saying like even if you were to just remove the quarterbacks from the solution here, a 10-man 1 quarterback, that's basically the 112. So let's just say Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, who I have in my top 12, aren't going to be those picks. You still have Troy Franklin, Xavier Legette, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Wright, Keon Coleman, like. All guys I would much rather have over Singletary in the 302 in that league.
Yeah, exactly. What's everyone's problem with Kenneth Walker? 5'11 is kind of nuts in a 1 quarterback league. Yeah, a lot of people like to hate on Kenneth Walker. I actually really like taking him as like my RB2 in a competitive window where I go with like a balanced Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker type of build. But I do think the problem everybody has with him is that he has a capped ceiling. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, long term, I think people are underrating how good and how long he should have a good career for. Like, even if his ceiling this year from a redraft perspective is RB9 and he has RB8 and RB12 finishes the next 2 years, it's like, well, he's going to be a free agent after that. Are they going to bring him back when they drafted Charbonnet in the 2nd round 2 years prior? It's possible he goes and signs a Josh Jacobs-like contract after having 2 top 12 finishes at age 25 years old. And it's like, if you got 2 top 12 finishes and potentially more projectable RB1 workloads, you're going to be very happy with that 5'11. So yeah, he's probably never, sans a Charbonnet trade or injury, going to finish as a top 5 running back, but I do think he's a very good RB2 to have on competitive rosters building out of a startup. And especially in leagues that are already going on, you can get him sometimes for a pretty good discount. Like if you're a competitive team, you have the 111 because you lost in the championship this year in a superflex league, and you need one more running back to help run back your championship run, and you want to send the 111 in superflex for Kenneth Walker, I think that's a very fine move to make.
Yeah, and for rounds, you mentioned 5'11, so that would be what so the full 5 rounds would get you to what, the 60th pick. I currently have him ranked as my 63rd player, but I do agree, in more competitive builds especially, like he could work up the board to at least the early to mid 50s, and at that point getting him at the 5'11 if you're trying to compete right away, I don't mind.
Yeah, it all depends where he's going in relation to the rest of the positions, because do I want to take him as a top 10 dynasty running back? Not really. But if the running backs 1 through 6 go off the board in the first 3 rounds of a 1 quarterback startup, and then no other running backs go until round 6, then I'm fine with doing it. As long as the market that you're in understands that there is a difference between Jonathan Taylor and Kenneth Walker, then I'm totally fine. waiting a couple rounds, filling out some other positions, then going back to the well at running back.
Agreed. Ayuk to Steelers would probably cap his value, but as a fan, I'd be ecstatic. Plus, Pickens might be crazy and out of town himself in another year or two. Hopefully, not the case in this mock in particular, knowing that I took Pickens. But all jokes aside, yeah, I mean, Ayuk to your favorite team should be every fan's fucking mindset. Like, even as a Cowboys fan, man, if we got fucking Brandon Ayuk for the cheap, I'd be fucking all over it. And we might not even be able to afford him. He's that talented of a player. I think he's a fringe top 5, at least a top 6 to 8 receiver in the league.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like pick 24 wouldn't be enough for Ayuk in a trade if you sent that to the 49ers, and I don't disagree with their assessment,
agree.
to be honest.
No, I agree with you there.
If Marquise Brown went for like the 20th pick in the draft, like Brandon Ayuk should be going for a top 15 selection. Like if I was the Colts, I would send 15 for him.
Yeah, I agree. I'm back on the clock here, and it's kind of fucking gross. I'm not gonna lie. I might just take another rookie running back and hope they get draft capital, to be honest.
Yeah, that's definitely a decent one.
Or
Ryan says, sent the other week, traded Herbert and 207 for Bijan, Bryce Young, and 308.
I'll just do that.
10 team, Superflex 10, start 10. Already have Stroud, Kyler, Levis, and Rodgers. Okay, so knowing you already have Stroud, Kyler, Levis, and Rodgers is nice context because giving away a stud quarterback is something I'm almost never wanting to do. But if you're in a competitive window, you needed a competitive running back. Bijan's the best one you can go get. Bryce Young has a lot of upside. It's scary. This is a scary trade. Like, this is really sketchy. But at the same time, we're talking about Herbert as a top 6 to 8 startup pick versus Bijan as a mid-second. There isn't that much of a difference between them in terms of overall startups, but
there is.
But when you add in the context of his quarterback core already, I'm okay making this move. I would have liked to not do this if it was Bijan, Bryce Young in a second for Herbert straight. I would have preferred that, but at the same time, I think it's manageable.
I would have rather just given up Kyler for Bijan at that point, to be honest.
I'm gonna grab Michael Mayer here and fill out my tight end core that way.
Also, I don't know why you had to throw in the 207, especially in a 10-team super flex. That's bad in my opinion.
I'm guessing he's either a big Bijan guy, big Bryce Young guy, or Herbert's on the down slope right now because he lost his top 2 receivers. Yeah. I would have probably waited to make this move. Like, waited until after Malik Neighbors gets picked by the fucking Chargers or Marvin Harrison gets picked by the Chargers, because then you could have gotten more for Herbert at that point.
Yeah. Like, we're about keeping it transparent. We're about keeping it honest. I really just don't like the move. Like, I'm not moving off Herbert at this current point, given the downswing in his value. Like, Kyler, again,
I'm generally higher on the edge that Bijan has to the rest of the running back position.
I agree.
I'm more okay with it. At least you're getting an elite asset back. Like, if this was, say Herbert for Saquon, Bryce Young in the 112, I would actually have more of a problem with it, because at least you got Bijan, who's an edge over the rest of his position like Herbert is.
No, absolutely. No, I agree there. I'm just saying, like, I would rather trade Stroud to get Bijan plus, or trade Kyler straight up to Bijan than trade Herbert, given the value.
Well, what if this is a league that doesn't value quarterbacks appropriately and they really value running backs?
I mean, that's added context. That's not in the message, though.
It's not, but I'm assuming that's kind of the dynamic at play here, is that either you sold low on Herbert, which is something I probably wouldn't have do, or this is a league where it's very challenging to get running backs.
Yeah, for sure. I just mean, like, the valuation between Herbert right now versus Stroud. Like, I view Herbert close to Stroud. The market doesn't. Like, at this point, if Herbert is being traded.
Yeah, that's true. You could have sold Stroud instead if that's
like, you probably could have gotten Bijan plus 2 ones for Stroud, given his current market value. He's going as
especially as a competitive team. Like, Herbert and Kyler are just fine for you, and like, realistically, there's not a huge difference from a redraft standpoint between Herbert and Stroud. But the market in Dynasty obviously is going to view it as a huge difference, because Herbert doesn't have any long-term weapons attached to him right now, and Stroud obviously is younger, so everybody'd be way higher on that. So I don't disagree with the fact that I probably would have sold Stroud instead. But Greed, how do we get in a startup? Devontae says, so the way that our startup is going to work, whether we started at the beginning of April or we started after the NFL draft, is going to be anybody that has signed up for Flock Fantasy this year in 2024 will have a chance to get in that league if they want a chance to get in that league. And then also we'll probably give double entries in the raffle to people that are annual mother flockers or annual flockers, because we want to reward our loyalist members. And of course, I mean, getting into listener leagues is like just the tip of the iceberg for what Flock Fantasy has to offer. I mean, trade value chart, Dynasty draft guide for our rookie rankings, our super flex rankings, our film breakdowns, which we have Odunze, Marvin Harrison, and Malik Neighbors live on the site right now. Me and Danny breaking down all 22. We're going to have Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy, Lad McConkey, those guys coming this week. So yeah, a lot of value on there. Just one of the things being that you can get into listener leagues with us. So I'm on the board here at 12-4. Is this, do I have to fall on the Austin Eckler sword here?
Yeah, I mean, I did it with Aaron Jones. Like, I'm a retooling team, and I took Aaron Jones because 11-8 in the one.
Yeah, I'm gonna fall on the Austin Eckler sword. I guess I could have gone Prescott as well because I mean he's kind of ridiculously still available.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, I don't even need a quarterback because I took Jackson.
Same with like Purdy too. It's like I already have Burrow, but like fuck, if I'm gonna just get another great quarterback falling to me, I might just take him.
Did everybody just forget about quarterbacks? I guess.
I mean, it's a one quarterback league. I'm sure a lot of people in this startup maybe don't do a lot of one quarterback.
Me neither.
Leagues, but it is still important to have some depth.
Yeah, it's just like if I had known all the quarterbacks would have fallen, I wouldn't have taken Jackson at the 3-8 either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nick says, in a one quarterback where in-season running backs command a premium, are you comfortable trading away Connor and Pollard for JSN? Would leave me CMC, Swift, and Warren at running back. Would be able to leave JSN on the bench this year. I think that's just good. If you're a big JSN guy and you want to take the swing on JSN accumulating value, I think that's a great move.
Yeah, agreed.
That was the same question. Wide receivers are good. QB is Daniel Jones, Will Levis. Running back is Jahmyr Gibbs and fodder. What to do with the 105, 107, and 108? So I mean, you're solid at wide receiver, like you said. QB is Richardson, Daniel Jones, Will Levis. I would like to add another quarterback to that mix in a super flex format. Hopefully at 105, you have one of them available, whether it's Drake May or Jaden Daniels. I would like to add another quarterback to that mix if you can. And maybe just move off of Daniel Jones. I know you're a Giants fan, but that's probably what I would do. And then 107, 108, I would probably just take best player available. Hopefully Odunze falls to you, but you have flexibility, man. Like you could go, if Neighbors is the guy that falls to you at 105, you just take Neighbors at 105, and then maybe McCarthy is your pick at 107 or 108.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. If Neighbors goes 104, you take Daniel / May at 105. If the quarterbacks go 3-4, you take Neighbors at 105, and then you take McCarthy at one of those 107, 108 picks. Like you could
walk out of this draft with Neighbors, Odunze, McCarthy, or you could walk out of this draft with Drake May, Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas. Like you have flexibility to be able to move around the board as well too. I mean, you don't really need much on your roster. I mean, you have Jahmyr Gibbs and fodder, but it's not like you're going to get a running back at those picks anyway. If you wanted to trade down potentially or trade one of these picks straight for Jonathan Taylor to try and compete, you could. If you wanted to take the 108 and go after JT or go after one of the top running backs with other draft capital or whatever, you could definitely do that as well.
For sure.
Are Metcalf and Higgins getting an upgrade in wide receiver rankings as of now or staying the same in your guys' opinion? I've had both of those guys relatively the same over the last couple of years, to be honest. Yeah. Higgins has been in that mid wide receiver 1 or mid wide receiver 2 range. And then Metcalf has been about at that tail end of the wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 range.
Well, I mean, both of them kind of have fallen in these last couple of years because at one point
they have, but like they haven't really, nothing has changed in my opinion.
I agree. The reason why I'm saying that is like they've always kind of been close to each other, like almost back to back in rankings. It's just back 2 years ago back 2 years ago. What?
No, sorry. I'm just saying they're sliding.
Oh, I thought you were telling me to.
So I'm not telling you to keep your volume down. I'm saying it was before. I was like they were back to back wide receiver 10 and wide receiver 12 in Dynasty. Then it was wide receiver 16 and wide receiver 19 in Dynasty. Now it's like wide receiver 20 and wide receiver 25 in Dynasty.
Yeah. I thought you were telling me to pipe down. I was like, wait,
no, what is that? You are generally a loud person, but I was not telling you to pipe down.
Sorry, I'm a loud Italian guy. It is what it is, you know?
But yeah, that's the way that I view those guys. I mean, let me ask you this. If Higgins signed, let's say, a 3-year, $71 million extension or whatever his fucking contract details are
81
with the Bengals, are you moving him in your rankings?
Yeah, I mean, he should go up a little bit because you do have security there with Burrow.
I have him pretty high already. That's why I'm asking. I have him like 19 or 20. So
I have him at 24. So like he would go ahead of like Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, Michael Pittman, who already received his contract, possibly.
Yeah, him and Pittman would be treated almost identically, I guess, is the way that you look at that. Because even though Pittman's the one, he's got Richardson throwing him the ball, not Burrow, and vice versa. So yeah, I think that's probably what you're looking at with Higgins and Metcalf.
No, actually, yeah, that's what I pointed out. Thoughts on Van Jefferson with the free
Who
agent
cares?
move?
I don't care about Van Jefferson. Sorry, like he sucks.
Any 4th-round pick, and he's off my team. Any foul budget, and he's off my team.
Yeah, like I had Van Jefferson's ass.
Honestly, he's just off my team because the roster spot's more valuable. Like, to be honest. Been indecisive for 2 weeks on taking Olave. I've already asked Corey. Guy wants 105, 205, 2025 first and a second and 1 quarterback. No, I'm not doing that if you're rebuilding. The 105, like the 105 is like Brian Thomas / wide receiver 4 in the class, assuming obviously Brock Bowers goes
When it might be Bowers also.
It could also be Bowers. So then at that point, it's like a 1 quarterback league. Like, I'm not paying that plus a first and a second for Olave if I'm not competing, especially knowing that please tell me that's not your own
building also. Like,
yeah,
don't.
That's not your 2025 first. I hope not.
Yeah. It says for taking Olave. Are you selling Olave for this? Because you say you're rebuilding with a good young team. If you're rebuilding with a good young team, your mindset shouldn't be to buy players, right?
Yeah, you're not buying him. Thanks. Yeah, I need a running back, and this was before the Keenan Allen, Mike Williams move. 4-point passing touchdowns in the overall value. I guess I don't know. It's just like Herbert being on the a little bit of a downswing. I would have wanted to trade one of my other quarterbacks, to be honest. But I understand why you did it in a competitive window needing running back. Like I'm not faulting the process of the trade. I'm just kind of talking about the value of it. What up? What's up, Bailey? What's up? 1-7, how my team look? Fat finger Zamir White. I mean, Zamir White, the 11-7 is not awful in a 1 quarterback league, to be honest. So,
yeah. So, I mean, the team he's got here, Puka Nacua, Ayuk, Rashee Rice, build out a strong wide receiver core, great value on McBride, as we talked about. Josh Jacobs, a good RB1 to kind of anchor a competitive team. I mean, it sucks having Purdy as your main quarterback, but knowing that the QBs were falling this hard, I think you could have been a lot worse off than having a guy like Brock Purdy as your stable quarterback there. And then, I mean, Worthy, Ridley, Montgomery, Pollard, Wicks, like everything kind of made sense for your team. The only guy that doesn't fit is Worthy, but I would have taken him at that value as well. So I'm not going to say like, oh, you should have stuck to like a competitive window guy.
Hey guys, I need some advice here. I'm holding 101 in my draft and honestly don't love Caleb. Would you move the 101 for the 103 plus a 2021 5, 1, and 2? Short answer is if you don't love Caleb, that is more than enough of a package to be able to move down. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Also, I think that's an Abuela sighting there from Alex in the picture.
Huh?
I think that's an Abuela signing. Sorry. I noticed he's got like his grandmother or something in the picture there, which I thought was funny.
Oh.
Anyways, yeah, I think that's a good package. Like if you don't view the QBs any differently, or hell, maybe you can get Marvin there at 103. I would say that's an excellent move down.
I was like, who's Abuelo? Is she in like a sitcom? Like what's going on?
No, that's what Spanish people call their grandmothers.
Oh, like a nonna.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. All right, makes sense. One quarterback.
We got 1 quarterback, start 8, 12-man PPR. Guy with Gibbs is looking for a wow offer. I have a stud wide receiver core drafting Marv at 101. I have the 102, 108, 202, 203, 209, 210. How should I buy Gibbs? Okay, so
I'm not doing if at max, if you're giving the 102, it's straight up. I'm not adding to the 102 to do it, to be honest.
For Gibbs, I would be willing to add in a second.
It's Neighbors. Maybe the 210, but like I view Neighbors and Gibbs back to back.
In a situation where it's a 1 quarterback start 8 league and you're a competitive team and you already have a loaded wide receiver,
you have to pay a little bit of a price.
Giving up 102 and 203 in a 1 quarterback league for Gibbs.
I just can't do it, especially.
I know Gibbs and Neighbors went literally back to back here. Like they're basically the same value. It's just like on an open market, not in a startup. Maybe Gibbs has more value because he's a stud running back. That's like my only caveat to this.
I have Gibbs as my 109. I have Neighbors as my 111. I'm not adding.
My question is, why can you buy Hall or Bijan instead? If the wow offer is what you need for Gibbs, that would be my question.
If he wants a wow
get
offer,
you the other 2 guys.
I don't know. Maybe like I would rather do 108 in a 2025 first than I would 102 straight up for him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Or sorry, plus on 102.
Yeah, I mean you could do that as well. If he takes that, that's also a good move. Flock is fire. I'm a mother flocker. Yes, sir. Appreciate the support. Corey. The link for the site is actually there in the description. If you guys are curious, want access to all of our Superflex rankings, 1 quarterback rankings, our Dynasty trade calculator, of course, which is adjusted to your specific league settings. So if you're in a 1 quarterback start 8 league, you can see how the trade calculator would adjust to that league setting. And of course, Dynasty Draft Guide, trade value charts, film breakdowns, everything that you could possibly want basically is on Flock Fantasy. And of course, if you want to get in our next listener league, which will be either starting soon here or after the draft, that will be potentially how you get in there. So link for that is in the chat there. What's up?
Danny can be loud, can't confirm. Yeah, especially when I die to a corned up hard scoper on COD. Hey, Flet, you know that one too well.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured I'd shit on Van. Yeah, I mean, Van isn't good, so sorry. I mean, I hate to burst your bubble. He's a replacement level receiver, and that's being generous.
The only good Van is Corey.
Yeah, exactly.
Amen.
Where will you guys have London ranked among wide receivers for redraft? We actually, we should probably talk to Mason about this, about getting best ball rankings onto the site soon, because the big board is live, and we should probably have that stuff out there. But London among wide receivers for redraft, I would imagine he's going to end up being kind of like a tail end wide receiver 1, low end, a high end wide receiver 2 in the like Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith area of last year.
He's going to be like a 2-3 turn / early to mid 3rd round pick, I would say.
Yeah, which is a viable risk to take at that point. It's
I agree.
Hey, yeah, he's not a sure thing, but young wide receiver, 3rd year, has a chance to be the next Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin, Justin Jefferson, all these young wide receivers that took that leap in year 2 or year 3, in year 3 in London's case here.
Yeah, the way I kind of view it is, I mean, Chris Olave was a top 24 valuation last year. I feel better about Drake London going into this year than I did about Chris Olave going into last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good example of one for sure. I have Mingo, Komet, Spears, and Moss. I have 7 picks in 2024, and I can't get any trades done for these guys. I only have 4 open roster spots left, and I don't want to drop them. What would y'all do? You can't get any trades done, even if you package them together, potentially, to teams that don't have any depth. I guess my question then would be, can you pair them with guys on your roster that you could upgrade a tier with? So let's say you have Joe Burrow on your roster. Can you pair Joe Burrow with Tajay Spears and Cole Kmet and see if you can get up to Jalen Hurts or something
Lamar
like that?
Jackson or something like that. Yeah, no, I agree.
That would be my only other way of navigating this, trying to make deals in general using some of these players or some of the other players on your roster where it's 2 for 1s, 3 for 1s, 3 for 2s, whatever, ways to limit your roster size without having to actually outright drop these players. Because I mean, Spears specifically, I don't think I would drop, but Mingo, Komet, and Moss, it sounds like you're in a more shallow league format and maybe you would have to drop those guys, but Spears especially, I would love to keep on my roster.
Yeah, I agree. Like maybe you could, like, honest to God, like if you're going to drop them anyways, just see if you can attach Zach Moss to the 206 and can you move up to the 203? Like those are the types of moves you'd be looking like. If you can't have a market for those guys, try to look for those little microtransactions that are better in profit for you rather than just dropping them.
Yeah, because you get nothing if you drop them, obviously. Exactly. I'm sure you're not getting compensatory picks for them if they sign elsewhere. So that would be a cool, intricate detail to Dynasty if you got compensatory picks for losing players.
Like maybe, that'd be pretty dope. Thoughts on Waddle in Dynasty? Do you think he can ascend if he's healthy, or does he settle in that wide receiver 2 range in Dynasty? I don't think he can be a wide receiver 1 at this point, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, even if he had, let's say he was wide receiver 9 in points per game this year in PPR leagues, I mean, he's back up to exactly where he was last year, which was like tail end 1, high end 2.
For reference, bro.
And that's depending on what happens with the rookies, too, because even if he does that, he's wide receiver 9 in points per game. What if Harrison Neighbors, Odunze, and one of the other guys ball out this year? They might all surpass him.
Like AJ Brown, Chris Olave are my 10-11 right now. AJ, like, because Waddle is going to be what, 26, 27?
He's my age. He's my age. Yeah. He's very close to my age. Yeah.
So he's 26 years old. Even if he has a wide receiver 6 season this year, he's going to be 27 entering last year. AJ Brown's my wide receiver 11, and he was a top 4 overall wide receiver in points per game this year. Like once you hit 26, 27, man, like you're fine keeping these guys because of the production value that they give. But realistically, from a market ascension standpoint, AJ Brown, like I said, 20 point per game season. He's my wide receiver 11 right now in fantasy. That's the age dynamic that happens, man. Like you have to be 23, 24, have that top season to be valued as a top 5 dynasty wide receiver.
Unless you're giving Tyreek Hill levels of production at 25, 26, 27 years old. Because if he was if Waddle was Tyreek and he was giving that level of production,
Exactly.
then he would be, you know, the way that we treat McCaffrey at the running back position, where he's like still a top 5 guy or still a top 6 guy or whatever. But
For
yeah,
sure.
if you're giving good production, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 production, but you're not giving elite production, and you're above the age of 25 at wide receiver, you probably can't climb up really much more than where you're already at. If Waddle's wide receiver 14 in Dynasty right now and he has a top 10 season next year, maybe he's wide receiver 11 in Dynasty. Like he moves up a little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah, no, same page.
Elaborate on Levis. What would we be willing to give
Late
up
one.
for him? So Will Levis, if I was on the board at pick 112, I had a really good roster without a quarterback 3. I would send away a late first rounder in this year's class for Will Levis, and I wouldn't really think twice about it, because I do think, unlike people that were doing it for Trey Lance last year, it's a calculated risk that you're taking. Yeah, could 112 end up becoming a stud wide receiver prospect that you didn't draft? Sure. But even if that happens, Will Levis being a franchise quarterback would make him a 3rd round starter pick. You'd have to really miss big on like the next Justin Jefferson available at 112 to not have that trade work out in your favor, assuming Levis hits.
You need a quarterback too. Let's just say your quarterback situation now is Josh Allen,
Geno Smith,
or even like Kirk Cousins, like an older guy that you don't mind like moving to your quarterback 3 spot because, you know, like he's older and you don't want to rely upon that as your quarterback 2 for the long term. Are you sending the 110 straight up for Will Levis?
I would. Assuming I can't get McCarthy there, I would say I would do it.
I would too. Like,
and even still, like, I mean, once McCarthy gets into the NFL, if he's not a Minnesota Viking, I would prefer Levis. If he's on the Broncos or the Raiders, I would prefer Levis.
I would take McCarthy on the Broncos simply because I trust Sean Payton and the draft capital there. But like Will Levis deserves to be in that range. What he showed to me last year, the coaching there now with Brian Callahan, who I believe in, the offensive structure that they have now with Calvin Ridley, potentially top tackle / another wide receiver added at 7, with the additions they made on defense to make an overall competitive roster, like they're putting him in his best chance to succeed. And taking an athletic, big-armed young quarterback with these tools around him is always a good process, especially if it's at late first type of cost. Like there's a real possibility that we could be looking at Will Levis a year from now and he's worth 2+, possibly 3 firsts.
Yeah, it's not like you have to pay the 106 for this guy right now. Like you're paying a risk insulated pick, which is an early 2nd potentially for some people, but in most cases probably a late 1.
And the thing is like, is it really that risky? Like if he has like, obviously if it's a terrible year,
I mean, if the Titans have a top 5 pick next year, we're talking a Sam Howell situation,
right? Like that's what I mean. If he has a terrible year, that's going to be.
You'd probably also have selling windows during the season in that situation. So if you're like Levis sucks, I need to get off of this guy. He's not going to get benched.
I mean, we saw what happened with Sam Howell.
Yeah, like Sam Howell had a point in time where he was fetching 1st round capital.
That's what I'm saying. So like with Will Levis in particular, even if he reaches, let's say he only has like a 50th percentile outcome year, and the Titans are picking 9th overall next year, do you really feel like he's going to be much cheaper than what he is right now?
Probably not. No, I think, again, the NFL draft community and the fantasy community are often very disconnected on how they view quarterbacks as either franchise quarterbacks or not franchise quarterbacks. And last year, the example of that was the NFL draft community listened when the Green Bay Packers said, we believe in Jordan Love. The NFL draft community listened when the 49ers said, we believe in Brock Purdy. And the Dynasty community did not. We thought that maybe Trey Lance would start, and, you know, certain people more than others for sure, but
including myself.
Like Will Levis is getting like Mel Kiper. I know Kiper was high on him coming into the cycle or whatever, but he's like already talking about him, as are like GMs and stuff, as if he's a franchise quarterback. Like he showed enough to be considered a real threat to be a long-term quarterback for the Titans. Not just like, hey, we'll see what happens here, but like, yeah, we'll see what happens here, but like we actually think he's quite likely to hit.
Well, I mean, the way we can contextualize it is he was viewed as this raw, big-tooled quarterback coming into the league, and he looked pretty good as a rookie. What do you think the raw, big-tool player is going to look like with another year of experience under his belt?
Better receivers, better offensive line talent, better scheme,
weapons,
throwing the ball more too. Like he's got a chance to really accumulate some value here. And again, could he miss? Sure. I mean, I didn't think he was that great of a prospect at Kentucky outside of the tools, but we don't know quarterback prospects, man. None of us can do. Kiper's been doing this since, I literally tweeted this yesterday. He's been doing this since I was a speck in my dad's nutsack, basically.
Literally.
Like Kuiper's been scouting. This is 46th NFL draft that he's been scouting for, and he can't get quarterbacks right. The NFL has been doing this for years and years and years, and they can't get quarterbacks right. So us pretending like we know the answer about Will Levis, whether or not he's going to hit, it's like we can guess, like, hey, big armed quarterback goes to a good situation. They build around him. That guy's got a pretty good chance of hitting, especially when he's got the intangibles. He works hard. He's a tough player. You saw, the winner kind of mentality come out in that Dolphins game, in that 4-touchdown debut game or whatever. We don't know what's going to happen with Will Levis, but what I do know is like the team believes in him enough that they're building around him. And if he does hit, 7th round startup value is going to be 2nd round startup value pretty quickly.
Easily. And I'm glad you mentioned that. And the reason why people have way worse of a hit rate at quarterback in relation to running back, receiver, tight end is there is so much intangible ability that goes into the quarterback position. You have to be a cerebral player to hit at the next level of quarterback. And I understand every position you need a certain amount of intellectual ability to command the playbook, to understand, where to break off your routes if you're a receiver, where to hit from a vision standpoint when you're running back. Tons of preparation goes into it, but quarterback's got to know his job. Quarterback's got to know every single person's job on the field. It is overwhelming mentally for young players, and that's typically why we don't see young quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks coming onto the scene and having great rookie seasons. Like CJ Stroud is the outlier. Dak Prescott is the outlier. Justin Herbert is the outlier. Those are not the norm, man. And people will point to, well, Patrick Mahomes in his first season broke the passing touchdown record, right? A, sat for a year, and B, are we just going to compare every oncoming quarterback to the best quarterback possibly of all time?
No, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, those guys took time.
Exactly.
Bailey, still debating if I should try and get the top 3 picks by trading up to the 102 Superflex full PPR tight end premium. I have the 101, 107, 108, 111, 201, 207, 211. Okay, so a lot of stuff. He says Danny knows. Possibly go Caleb, Marvin Harrison, and Neighbors, grab a late round vet or trade for another vet. Again, I mean, if you're in a rebuilding window, I'm only going to go up to 102 if it's cost effective. Like if you can get up there for 107, 201 and
I know why he's asking.
Like, what's up?
I know why he's asking though, because he's saying I have Stroud. I'm going to take Caleb at the 101, and I want to get both Marv and Caleb on this team. I don't want to be left sticking down the barrel of having to take a quarterback at the 103. That's why he's asking it.
My question would be, why don't you just move up from 103 then?
Well, that's basically. Oh,
I think he says still debating if I try and get the top 3 picks by trading up to the 102. So he wants 101, 102, and 103 so he can go Caleb, Marvin, and Neighbors like he lists here. So for me, it's like, if you're in a rebuilding window, I'm probably not likely to do that unless I can get it for a cost-effective value. And again, once you have trade offers on the table, just DM us and we'll let you know. But for me, I think I would just trade up one spot if you want to make sure you get Marvin.
He's actually showed me the team. Like for having that many picks, it's actually in really good position.
Okay, well, then if you have really good position and it costs you, say, let's craft some trade offers.
107 to 108.
108 and 207.
Plus, yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd
201 even, let's say.
Yeah, 107, 108, 201. Yeah, I'd be cool with doing that.
Maybe try and insulate yourself a little bit by getting a second in 2025 added on the side of the Marvin, the 102 side.
Yeah, like again, we've talked about it, Bailey. Like your team isn't a good enough spot from a depth standpoint, from a future standpoint, where you want to go aggressive and try to get some really, really stud franchise players this year. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it if you got the depth already. Ryan says, I'm in a 18 super flex. I have the 207, sorry. And so I'll see if I can upgrade somewhere. Do you think I could sell Cooper and Moss for Keenan Allen or Diggs? So he's the one who asked, he might have to drop Zach Moss, Tajay Spears, and all those guys. If you can up tier, I don't view Cooper to Keenan Allen as an up tier. I view Cooper to Diggs as an up tier. So if you could go Cooper and Moss to Diggs, I would do it.
I mean, I have Cooper literally.
I have him ahead of Keenan Allen, so I would prefer Cooper.
I have him a good amount ahead of Keenan Allen. I dropped Keenan Allen significantly. I don't like old wide receivers getting traded for day 3 capital to another
on a team with a proven #1 target earner as well, with a rookie quarterback, as much as Caleb is great.
Like if Keenan Allen goes out there, misses 3 or 4 games next year, puts up 900 receiving yards, is he a top 50 dynasty wide receiver? Absolutely
no, probably not. And the other thing too is like, what happens the second they draft a receiver either at 9 or later in the draft at some point? They might take another receiver in the second round too. Like
Diggs, I'm cool doing it for. Diggs,
I'm cool doing it for as well. Blink fan 8, even if it costs you, let's say Cooper, Moss, and I can't remember who the other players were. If it's Cooper and Spears, I would still be okay doing that for Diggs, to be honest.
I'm a little like I would probably want a little bit higher, like DK, if I'm doing that.
Yeah, that's fair. 10 team was offered 1-4, 110, Purdy and Jaden Reed. Sorry, Purdy, Jaden Reed, Spears for Hurts and Amon-Ra.
Hurts and Amon-Ra, not close.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of noise for Hurts and Amon-Ra is what I just read.
Do you take this for Hurts straight up?
I might, given that you're getting a decent quarterback back and the 1-4.
But like that's about value.
Yeah, definitely not for both of them. Definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
Is the Zach Wilson era in the crapper? It absolutely is. But again, here goes Zach Wilson, another example of why we don't understand quarterbacks. The whole NFL thought this guy was going to be a stud. And like, yeah, some fantasy players were like, he sucks, watch the tape, it's a bad conference or whatever. For the most part, I think I would have bet on Zach Wilson's profile again if I saw it. If it was exact same prospect, same, not in the Power 5 conference, but dominates and ascends to a top pick, I think I probably would have bet on that prospect profile again, to be honest. It's just sometimes guys don't have it above the shoulders.
Yeah, no, I agree there.
Where do you think Worthy is going to go in the NFL draft?
He is the most
30 range.
Player.
I believe that he could go as high as 15 to the Colts, to be honest.
He can go as high as
he could go that high.
The thing with him is he could go as high as 15 or he could fall to the second round. Like I've seen him
I don't
widespread.
think he will make it out of the first round, personally. I think he's going to go in round 1. I think his absolute floor is Kansas City at 32.
Xavier Worthy draft position betting over. I actually want to see what his projected draft position is on betting on books. Like, what is his over under for being picked?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they even have those betting markets up right now. But for me, I just look at Worthy and I'm like, the NFL value speed. We've seen really shitty NFL draft prospects get drafted highly because of it. And he isn't a shitty prospect. He had a lot of good production at a massive school that was a college football playoff team. I think he's going to go potentially as high as top 15 because of that production profile. Again, I tweeted it out yesterday talking about Kuiper had him 26 to the Bucks, and he said in the mock was like, dog, he shouldn't be on the board right now, is what Kuiper said, and he has connections to the league. So I think it's possible that, you know, whether it's Indianapolis at 15, Jacksonville at 17, Cincinnati at 18, even like some of the other teams, the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Bucks, like I think he's gone in the first 25 picks personally.
Yeah, no, I could see it. Cowboys would be an ideal landing spot.
It would be fun. I would really like that. That would be a really cool landing spot.
They just don't play anything alike, in my opinion, Corey. Like, I don't like the comp, especially knowing that.
I don't think they play completely unalike. I think they're both gunslingers.
Yeah, but I mean, Zach Wilson didn't show remotely a scenario a period in the NFL like Levis did last year.
No, he didn't. You're right. And if we had seen that from Wilson, we probably would have been a lot higher on him even than we already were coming into his second season. So
for sure.
Yeah, with Levis, I actually feel so much. And the difference, here's the key distinction between those two players. We had questions coming out, like some people did, about Zach Wilson's character and about his work ethic and, you know, his ability to read.
By all accounts, Levis.
Nobody had questions about it with Levis. Everybody thought he was a model citizen, tough, physical. Like he had no mental question marks, which again is why Mel Kiper had him comped to like Josh Allen, where it's like you got these tools,
Matthew Stafford,
you have the intangibles. It's like if you have the tools and the intangibles at quarterback, like you can figure the rest out if you're willing to work at it.
The one I see when I watch Levis, if he does hit that upper percentile, is like a modernized Matthew Stafford. Where
I like Jordan Love, to be honest. I think
Jordan Love's a good one too.
Across the board is a very good comparison for him because I also like Love was young coming out of school, so it's a little bit different of a comparison. But I think Jordan Love, the way that he's developed into the quarterback he is, I think that's kind of the ceiling for Levis, which is like, would any of us call Jordan Love a top 5 NFL quarterback? Probably not. But do we think he's like, if we were starting a franchise right now, quarterback 7 to 12? Probably.
Yeah. No, like again, I'm more on the modernized Stafford, but Love is also a really good one as well. And the big difference that I have between Levis and with Wilson is Will Levis, I saw last year under pressure, eating hits to the ribs, keeping his eyes downfield, going through his progressions, despite numerous times getting absolutely whacked across the head. The moment in the NFL that Zach Wilson faced NFL pressure, he crumbled. He crumbled. I don't see that.
That was a problem for him at BYU. And again, that's the biggest thing I've learned from Zach Wilson is I am not going to downplay a quarterback's play under pressure ever again, because Wilson was good under pressure for the most part in college, but in games, full games where he saw heavy pressure is when he struggled. So, even though a quarterback can make a throw under pressure or make a play under pressure, I'm going to be concerned if in games that they saw heavy pressure, they completely crumbled. And to be honest, there's guys in this class that fit that description, like Michael Penix Jr., for example.
You know what the comparison I'm thinking of right now is like in draft day when they're talking with Vontae Mack and they're like, yeah, watch Bo Callahan once I hit him a couple times, and then they put on the game film and you see Bo Callahan starts playing scared, knowing that Vontae Mack's coming off the edge. I mean, he was playing middle linebacker. I don't know why he rushed the passer so much. But I mean, it's just
that everything football related about that movie is off, including the fan base celebrating that they got a middle linebacker first overall and a running back in 7th overall.
Right. But it is funny though, because like that aspect is kind of real, man. Like evaluating how players play under pressure is a real thing in the NFL. And that's what it kind of reminds me of. It's like Zach Wilson would be like the Bo Callahan. Why he busted? He couldn't play under pressure. Like Bo Callahan couldn't play under pressure when they did that little film session.
Yeah. Absolutely bull rush that right tackle. It makes me laugh every single time.
Did he do a swim move too?
Yeah, it was a swim move. That's why it makes me laugh.
Bull rush that right tackle.
Also, the fact that it's Bellick from Prison Break makes it even funnier. I don't know why. It's the funniest part about that movie is that the Prison Break guard Bellick is literally the one breaking down his tape.
I also love how like who was I compared him to Brian Hoyer because he was just the Browns like veteran quarterback, the one that came
Brian Drew.
Brian Drew, right? It's like Brian Drew, he's gonna have the best career year of his life because he's squatting 500 pounds. It's like, okay, like what?
Totally uncorrelated to quarterback play. It's like kind of a Jameis thing to do, right? Like in the off season.
Bro, it's like, okay. Like,
anyways, let's rip through some of these comments, then we'll head off of here. We're going to be live probably tomorrow or the next day doing some underdog stuff. And we'll also probably, I saw Chad Reuter dropped a 4-round mock draft. So maybe we could do another MDR Dynasty rookie mock with landing spots potentially. We might be able to do a 3-rounder given that we have a 4-round mock draft to work with. But yeah, we'll break that down in the coming days. Moss and Cooper running back, do you think you could get for that? I mean, I love going after just like in general. I think Rachaad White's super undervalued. I don't think you're actually going to quite get there, but I would be okay if you're a competitive team going after Derrick Henry, even with Moss and Cooper. I think Derrick Henry has the potential to be really good this year. Jacobs and Saquon, same thing. David Montgomery, maybe I would want something a little bit on top of David Montgomery. Even Javonte Williams too might be a decent option to go after.
Like, if you want
to take the risk on Ramondre Stevenson, you could.
Like maybe too, if you can work up like if we're talking about PPR dynasty rankings, David Montgomery is my RB 18. Like, can you get Isaiah Pacheco for that?
Yeah, Pacheco, James Cook, maybe too.
Yeah.
Would you rather have JJ on the Vikings or the Broncos, Will Levis or Bryce Young, let's say at 108, 111 spot, wherever that JJ would go with draft capital? So if JJ goes to the Vikings, I would prefer him over both of those guys, to be honest. And if JJ goes to the Broncos, I think I prefer both of those guys to JJ, but not by much. I think they're all in the same tier in general. So I think JJ going to the Broncos makes me a little bit nervous just because they don't have a whole lot of pass catching weapons, but I trust the coaching there. And so it's still a good landing spot. I think that Bryce Young and Levis, I would prefer them slightly, but if you're not Levis or Bryce Young guys, it's a good reroll.
Honestly, it's kind of funny because at Michigan, the focal point of the offense was through one receiver and through one tight end with Loveland and with Roman Wilson. You kind of get a little bit of that factor with the Broncos now with Cortland Sutton and with Greg Dulcich, assuming he's healthy. And obviously, I mean, Sean Payton as a play caller, I trust him to get JJ in those positions. So I'm cool with JJ on the Vikings or the Broncos, assuming that both teams are trading up, viewing him as their franchise signal caller in the top 8 to 10 picks of the NFL draft. So I would take JJ regardless because I do actually like the Broncos landing spot for him as well.
Yeah, that's fair. I think if you aren't as high on those guys, or if you just want to re-roll, it makes sense.
Corey, there's not much of a take here. Like,
you guys haven't done shit. That's the take.
Yeah, Eric Hendricks. Woo.
Yeah. What are some contending RB2 buys you like? Even though, I mean, the answer to that is definitely you're not buying them right now.
Yeah,
I would say contending RB buys that I don't mind. Aaron Jones. I actually don't think Austin Eckler is terrible. If you're looking for a potential value accumulation piece, I don't mind Chase Brown as well. Stevenson technically, I guess, is like a contending RB2, so I don't mind him.
Javonte bounce back. I don't mind.
Yeah,
betting on.
Javonte bounce back as well. Not bad options there, but probably don't buy him yet. Scribble says, have the 105 and a 12 team, one quarterback tried to move up with no success. Do I stick and pick some other good prospects? I'd say with 105 and one quarterback leagues, you're probably going to need to wait and see what happens during the draft, because if one of these top receiver prospects gets a ludicrous landing spot, you might actually have a really valuable pick on your hands. You know what I mean? Like if Brian Thomas goes to the Bengals or something and they trade T. Higgins
Xavier
on
Worthy
draft
goes
night,
to the Chiefs.
yeah, like you might have a really valuable pick on your hands there. So I would say I would probably, if you can't trade up, then I would probably just stick and pick at least at this point in time until we know what prospect that's looking like. Yes, we will be doing the NFL draft stream this year, by the way. Danny will maybe try and get less drunk this time.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Danny getting faded on any NFL draft stream is a yearly tradition, but we'll keep him functional this time if possible.
It's like, yeah, like last time, I'm not gonna lie. There was one phrase, what? I wouldn't bat an eye. I said that.
I wouldn't bat an eye. Yes, that was brought out a couple times.
Man, if you guys remember that, comment it, because like that was. I don't remember much of it, but it was a good time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he says his brother has Diggs and he sent him Cooper and Moss for Diggs and he rejected immediately. Yeah, I'm guessing because you have shallow benches, like you're going to have to pay Cooper and Spears most likely if you want Diggs, which I'd personally be okay doing, especially if you could backfill with like a pick, maybe Diggs plus a pick for Cooper and Spears. But generally speaking, you're probably in a tough spot there trying to offload those guys. So again, appreciate you guys for joining us. Again, we did a one quarterback mock here plus some Q&A at the end of it. Stay tuned this week. We're going to have some more Tail of the Tapes coming out. Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy, Lad McConkey. I'm going to be in Mexico about 2 weeks from now or a week and a half from now. So we might be a little bit light on the content from April 3rd to April 10th, but we should still have some Tail of the Tapes in there, some live streams. I have a pretty decent connection. I'm actually staying at an Airbnb this time instead of a resort, and resort Wi-Fi is fucking horrible. So the Airbnb Wi-Fi should be much better. We should be able to do some streams while I'm gone.
Oh yeah, and trust. Well, we will be figuring out some great stuff on the way, man. I cannot wait for this NFL draft, especially knowing how deep it is, seeing who could potentially be there at 24 for my Cowboys. I'm assuming you feel the same at 26 for your Bucks. And I mean, along the way, we can break down everything from a theoretical standpoint until it actually happens.
Yeah, for sure. So peace out, guys. Talk to you soon. And again, we're going to be starting a Dynasty startup pretty soon. So make sure you're checking out Flock Fantasy for everything going on over there.
Yes, sir. Take care.